Okay, and welcome back to Majik Cat Security Tutorials. Can't talk this evening. We're going to delve right in today on, we'll go ahead and get us cranked up here. We're going to delve right into, here we go, into playing around with the terminal a bit more, go a little bit more depth into that this evening, and minimize that. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and get our virtual Parrot Security Linux fired up here so we can get started. Here we go. So hopefully you've been following along with the tutorials so far, and you're up to date. If not, some of these you can just kind of pick and choose things that you do want to catch up on or know a little bit more about or learn about. But I am designing these to go step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. Alright, test dummy. We put in old test dummy's password, let me in 123. And of course, for heaven's sakes, never ever use something that simple as your password. And it looks like we have some system updates here. Wasn't anticipating that, but that's okay. We can go ahead to full screen and it'll catch up to us here in a moment. And I'm kind of waiting for, there we go. Oh, wow. Okay. So, our guest editions is wanting to update too. Interesting. That's giving us a pain here. Let's see. Seamless. See if we can get it to, there we go. It's getting there. Yes, we do. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, the display is kind of going, there we go, crazy on us. There we are. Yes. I will probably let this do its little backup in the update here, because with 333 packages it may take a little bit of time to run the update, but I hate not to let it run. And I'm doing this exactly as you would be experiencing it, so I want you to see what we're doing. So you get the good with the bad, including the updates, although it seems to be flying through these, so maybe some quick little updates. Looks like it's updating some libraries and such. Now, I could very easily go to another desktop and we could go right with what we're doing. However, I don't want to be working in a terminal when we're updating stuff, because we don't want to screw anything up in the process. So we'll just kind of let it do its thing. Won't take long at all. Okay, so grabbed everything. Any change logs. May need to expand some and do some installation of a few things. Some packages that downloaded or may not. We'll find out in a moment. Send map. Wireshark updated. Nice. Very good. And VLC looks like some good stuff. Good stuff there. That's great. Great to hear. Or see. Here we go. Now this is for Wireshark. Anytime you install or update Wireshark, it asks you this. And we are going to say yes. Okay, so we're going to use the arrow key and move it over to yes and then hit enter. We do want non-super users to be able to use Wireshark. In our particular setup anyway, that's definitely what we want. Make things a lot easier in the long run. So now all the packages that it downloaded, looks like Samba's getting updated, that's good. The packages that it downloaded now, it's expanding, and Network Manager's getting updated too. How about that? Looks like some major updates here and patches. But all the packages that it downloaded now, it's going to go through and open them and install them. Let's see, original, right? Might as well. Yep, no problem. Go ahead. We'll let it do its thing. And we're only at 6%. So I may actually trim the video down and pop in later after this has gone through quite a bit, because you do get the idea. So I think we're gonna just pause everything temporarily until we get to that point, and then I'll be right back with you. I just kind of want to watch this line here get at least about there before I bring you back, so you're not completely bored and this video is not extraordinarily long. Because this will take a couple of moments. So bear with me and we will get to that point any moment now. And I believe we're just going to come back. So see you back in just a moment. And we're back. So it's just about finished up now. We're at 86%. I figured this would be a good spot, so you didn't have to wait through all that. Quite a few things updated. Actually had a kernel image update, and looks like Grub updated. So a lot of major updates here going on, which is a good thing. And I am so thankful that they have updated LibreOffice, because recently there have been some issues on Debian with Libre, however you say it, Office, with it not wanting to start up properly. So I'm glad to see that they did something with that. Hopefully that's fixing the little spurious errors that it's giving. I would literally have it work perfectly and then stop working and then start working again. And I hadn't installed or removed anything, so really odd. And I do require my LibreOffice at times. Everybody needs to be able to write documents and what have you, and do spreadsheets when you need to and things like that. So we're at the end here. There we go. All right. So now that we've run over little updates, we can, as usual, I'm going to straighten out the icons because that bothers me if they're not straight. So as promised, we're going to go a little bit more in depth with the terminal. So let's open up our terminal. We'll just open up the default terminal. We'll hit Alt-T. Okay. And here we go. Our epic portal. Okay. All right, so what I want to go over with you on the terminal is we're going to be using the terminal a lot more. So we need to know how to get around on our terminal. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be going over with you now. Some of the, it's just a handful of commands that you can use in the terminal, but these are some of the more common and most commonly used commands that we'll be going over right now, and I'll get into more commands as we go, but this will get you started. Okay, so if you want to follow along, just have your terminal open, and the first thing we're going to learn to do is, a lot of times you'll see me when I'm working in here, I want to look at what's in the directory that I'm in. Now when you first open your terminal, by default, I want you to understand, first of all, this is your terminal, and in this terminal we used the bash shell, okay? And that stands for, that's BASH, that stands for Born Again Shell. Okay, now there are many different shells you can use. In fact, if we go up here to our profile preferences, I forget exactly where it's at in here. I believe, let's see, it's not going to be in here. Compatibility possibly, nope, was it in general? Perhaps the default one doesn't let us change that there. I think it may be default bash. But some of the more custom terminals, and even this one elsewhere, just not here, you can change what shell that you use, like TZH, or there's several, Corn, but bash is the most widely used and accepted, and the most common, and this is the one that we're going to work with. It's definitely the shell I prefer. If you're a more advanced user and you prefer a different type of shell, that's perfectly fine. But to follow along well in these tutorials, you'll need to be using the same shell that I do. So the default one is fine, the bash shell. Now, if I want to list what's in this directory, now as soon as you open your terminal, it automatically opens to your home directory, okay? So this is user test, remember, little test dummy. So this is his home directory. And you can tell that by right here is this space is where it's going to put basically where you are, like a breadcrumb. So that tilde sign, the little squiggly thing, it's called a tilde. That symbol shows you that you're in your home directory, okay? Now, if we want to see what's in our home directory, we need to list what's in there. And to list, we have several options, okay? Most commonly used one, ls. Enter. And this lists our folders in there, okay? But there are variations on this. If I just do L, then it's going to show me a slash by anything that is a directory. So I know all these are directories because they all have little slashes behind them, okay? Now if I do ls-a, this is the all command, okay? And this shows me everything in a directory, including the hidden files. Now you'll notice some of these things have a period in front of them. If it has a period in front of it, it's a hidden file. You wouldn't normally see it. As you notice that when we just did a regular ls, it just showed the directories. And when I did an L listing, it shows us that these are directories. Now, the color coding that is default on this particular terminal also color codes the directories as this shade of blue. It's kind of like a cobalt blue, okay? And executable files are done with the bright green that you see here. And you see some of these are executable, some of them are not, okay? Now, and the A, basically just think of it as list all, okay? That's why it's showing our hidden files, and including our bash RC file there. Okay, remember you may recall that we used Figlet in our bash RC file to give us that cool little epic portal header up there, or whatever we want to put up there, using Figlet inside that. And now this is for user test dummy. Now if we had another user on this system, like, I don't know, test dummy's brother, let's say crash car dummy, if we were in his home directory, he'd have his very own bash RC file, so he could have whatever he wanted up here when he logged in. But anytime that crash dummy is not logged in and test dummy logs in, test dummy's going to have his own. So that's your own, that's why it's in your home directory. That's your own personal settings for your bash shell, okay? Now back to the commands. We have ls so far, L, then ls space, then -a. And now this is a hyphen. You will hear some tutorials that some techie guys and Linux guys, they call that a tac sign. They'll say ls tac a. I have no idea where they got that term. The correct term is, it's a hyphen, okay? It's a hyphen, guys. But anyway, that's what you type. Now, we have one more here we can do. We can do ls -a, and lowercase or uppercase matters, okay? That's an uppercase A, for instance, to a NIC system is completely different from an uppercase. Lowercase and uppercase are two totally different characters. So you can't, they're not interchangeable. Like, for instance, you notice the music directory. If I were to try to go into music with the lowercase m, it would tell me that directory doesn't exist, because it doesn't. If I type for it to go into the music directory with the uppercase m, then it would take me inside that directory, because it does exist. We see it right there. Okay? So the ls-a, we know list all. But what if we did ls-l? Wow, that's different, isn't it? There's all kinds of stuff in there. We will go over what all this is, but right now I'm just going to kind of tell you basically what you're looking at. When you do a listing like this, you're showing who the owner of it is, who the group it belongs to. See, these are created for test user, and their test user's the owner in the group, and here you have permissions that are set on each one. Okay, so it can tell you a lot of detailed information about it. You know, the date of the file when it's created, and the name of it, and our directory, and that sort of thing. If you were to do that al, then you're going to get the same list, only remember A is going to show all. So now we get all the files and directories, even the hidden ones, and we get their permissions. And you see there's a little bit different in the permissions here for different ones depending upon what it is. Okay, and this area over here decides whether it's executable and who can execute it and all that good stuff. Okay, so our command's there now. Let's go over it one more time. ls, just plain old L, and it is an L, that's not a 1, okay? And then there's ls-a, ls-l, and then the big daddy ls-al. Okay, and feel free to write these down. No shame in your game if you want to write them down to make sure you remember them. I do not know a single Linux user that does not have to occasionally look up a particular command that he has forgotten, or he or she has forgotten, because there are so very many of them. Okay, but now we know how to see what's in the directory. Now, that's a lot of stuff on there. I kind of want to clear that because it's cluttered, so we don't get things confused. So I'm going to type the word clear. Simple as that. Type clear, hit enter, and look at that. Nice clean terminal window again. So we went over our commands for listing. Now, so we did a list and we go, you know what? I'm missing a directory in here. You want me to tell you what directory I'm missing in my home directory? Because we want to organize it. Now, we have our installs, and that we do installs for. If we go into the installs directory, I'm going to use cd. Okay, that's our command. That's change directory, cd. Pretty simple, right? Then we put a space, so we're going to say change directory to installs. But here's something else that we can do. INS, so I'm going to start typing it, and then for a wonderful, quick, speedy, and efficient thing that you can do, hit the tab key on your keyboard. And look at that, it auto completes. So it makes it much quicker. So now we're inside the installs directory. And you see, if we look at our breadcrumbs here, it shows you you're inside home/installs. So that's where we're at. And it shows us right there. So we never get lost, we know where we're at. Now let's see what's inside the installs directory. Remember, we're going to do a list of what's in there. ls, enter. Okay, so we have a couple of apps that we can install there. Terminator, terminology, right? So now we're going to change directory to get out of the installs directory and back inside the home directory. So to do this, we're going to type cd. Of course, we're telling you we're changing directories, but we want to go back. So we put period, period, or dot, dot, and then hit enter. And look at that. Looking at our breadcrumbs, you see we jumped out of the installs directory back into the home directory. And if I do a listing, that's where we are. Now we need that wallpaper folder. Now, sure, I could go over here to my home folder and I could just right click and say create folder. We could do that, but we don't want to do that. We're right here and already in the terminal, and it's much quicker for us to just create it from the terminal. And how do we do that? This is going to make so much sense to you too. We're going to use the command make directory, and that's done with mkdir. Okay, make directory. That's what we're telling it to do. Then we're going to tell it what directory to make, and we're going to make a wallpaper directory. Okay, simple as that. Then we hit enter. No errors or anything. We do ls, and look at there. There's our wallpaper directory. Now you notice the ones I've created, I do lowercase. I basically do that because in my mind that keeps, at a glance, I know which ones were the system directories that the system itself created and what were the directories that I created after the fact, because they're in all lowercase. It's just kind of an OCD thing, I guess, that I do to add a little additional organization to it. And I can do at a glance and say, okay, you know, this is my user directories, these are the system created directories. So we can collect wallpaper, additional wallpaper to put in that directory, so that'll be good. Now, I also want to have a directory in here for the apps that we install manually, okay? Because we don't just want them to go willy-nilly all over the place. So we want to keep it organized, right? So again, we're going to make a directory, and we're going to call this one, now I'm going to do this one kind of special, you know. This one I do capital MY, capital A, PPS, just to make it very unique. You can do yours however you want, you can name it whatever you want, but this is how I like to name mine, okay? And I hit enter. Now we do a listing, and look at there, now we have our My Apps directory, okay? And I suggest, if you're following along, that you create these directories also, and there'll be reasons for it later, and just to help our organization, and you'll see why as we move on, okay? So we've learned different ways to list what's in a directory. We've learned how to change directories, and we've learned how to make a directory, right? But let's say, I don't know, let's say I wasn't paying much attention, and I went like this to do my apps. You know, I don't know how I'd ever do that, but let's just say I did. And I did that, and then I looked at it and I went, oh crap, I misspelled that. I didn't mean to do that. See, so here, let me clear that away first. There we go. So, you know, I do a listing, and yeah, there it is. Boy, I misspelled it. Dadgummit. You know, what am I going to do there? Well, there's a couple of things you can do there, but I'm going to show you how we remove that directory, because we really don't need it. We already have a My Apps directory anyway. So let's get rid of that misspelled one. And we're going to do that by using a remove command. rm, okay, space, -r. Now that's recursive. That option tells it to be recursive, meaning because it's a directory, that will make sure that it deletes or removes that directory and everything inside of it. Other directories, files, you name it. Okay, and then we just need to put the name of it. And remember, I can type MI and hit Tab key, and it auto-completes for me. Enter. Okay, so now if we do a list, that folder is no longer there. That directory's gone, right? So that's how we removed that. Now, let me explain something very important at this point. You need to remember when you're working with Unix-styled systems like Linux that it will literally do whatever you tell it to do. Okay? It's designed to be very user-friendly. A Linux system is not idiot-proof. You have to know how to learn how to use your computer when you're using a Linux system. Meaning, if I tell it to remove an important file, it's going to say yes sir and do it. Unlike, say, Windows, those of you who do and have used Windows before or use it now, you know that anytime you do any kind of operation practically on Windows, especially like delete, it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete this? Yes. Are you absolutely sure? Yeah. You'll get like 5 different little pop-ups making sure you want to delete that file before it finally deletes the file. If it will let you delete it at all. Now, if Windows has marked it as a special file, it's not going to let you delete it. It will refuse. I don't care if you're admin or whatever. It'll say, no, Windows needs this for a system. Whereas Linux, on the other hand, especially if you sudo, you tell it super user do, that you're the big guy, you're root. If you sudo before you give that command, especially, you can literally tell Linux, hey, you know what? Delete everything on the root directory. And it will literally pretty much delete itself. It's going to say, yes, sir, and it's going to do it. It's a good little soldier. It does exactly what you tell it to do. And some of you may be going, well, oh my goodness, that's dangerous. That's stupid. It's better, how Windows does. It won't let me goof up. Well, the point is, you don't goof up. With Linux, you have to actually learn how to use the computer. You don't just stumble your way through like you can with Windows or Macintosh. You actually need to know what you're doing, which is a good thing, okay? And it's much more efficient. I would much rather have a computer that is not going to argue with me. It's a tool. I don't want it to argue with me. I want it to do what the hell I tell it to do when I tell it to do it. So that's why it's a good thing. So far we have list commands. Remember ls, ls-a, ls-l, ls-al, or just L. Then we learned how to change directories, cd, right? And cd ... to go back a directory. We learned how to make a directory. And now we just learned how to remove a directory right there. See? So we can list what's in there. We can move around now. We can make new directories. We can list new directories. So I know there's somebody out there, I guarantee you, that's going, hey, but how do I make a file? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that too. That's a little bit different, but not so much. Suppose I want to create a file here. And I will make it right here inside my home directory, because we'll go back and remove it in just a moment, but just for the sake of showing you, we need an editor of some form to create this file. So, and I prefer Nano. Nano is a good editor. I do encourage you to learn to use Vim, V-I-M. Vim is just Nano's more old school. It's what I grew into using, so I'm more accustomed to it and I prefer it. But in fact, I need to get better with Vim myself because I don't use it as much as I should. But there are several programs that you will use later on when we get into these cybersecurity areas that they're designed to use Vim inherently within their scripts and their software. So it pays for you to learn how to use Vim comfortably. Okay, but just to give you a quick, site here, we'll just open a blank Nano, and this is Nano. You've seen me use it to edit like our bash RC file when we set up the figlet to put our little cool title at the top. And I know at first it's a little bit intimidating, okay? But let's look at what we have here, okay? GNU Nano. And by the way, GNU is actually GNU, not Unix, okay? There's lots of little funny acronyms and all in Linux. It's really cool. Now, if you come down here, you'll see we have commands. And that little upward-facing chevron, for lack of a better term, that stands for control. So this tells me Control X exits Nano. And if I hit Control X on my keyboard, boom, it goes away. Okay? But we want to open it back up. So I'm going to show you another cool shortcut. You have arrow keys on your keyboard that point up, down, left, and right. Well, by using the up and down arrows, I can recall any command that I've already typed into this session for this shell. So I can scroll up through them, I can scroll back down through them. So if I want to open Nano back up, instead of wasting time typing, I can just hit the arrow key up one time and then hit enter. And we have Nano back out. And you see you have other commands here, write out and read file, where is, so you can do a search within Nano, cut text, uncut text, justify, spelling, just all kinds of stuff. Go directly to a specific line, replace text. Or if you really want to get in depth, you can hit Control G, and we have the complete help files here. And it goes through anything and everything you can do with Nano. And you'll see here, even in fact, with the shortcut keys they gave us, you see they also have assigned function keys for these operations. So that's really good too, comes in handy. And you have some more advanced commands that you can use. And some of them, as you can see, like go to matching bracket, they're geared towards scripts that you'll be opening and all in here, so it makes it more easy to use. Okay, we hit Control A, that would be home, but this one, it says unbound, it should be assigned already according to this, but I'm technically not in a line, so, but all kinds of commands you can use within Nano to navigate around and get things done. So mouse support, enable, disable, so all kinds of stuff. Alright, so we're gonna close that. There we go, and it takes us right back to the main screen. And let's go ahead and close Nano for a second. I'm just going to give you a peep here. I'm going to type in Vim and hit enter. Well, I thought I had that installed. Was it done for V? Okay. Yeah, V. Okay, to open up our Vim. Alright, so we have Vim open. Now, you see, Vim to me tends to be a little bit more complicated to use. But many people argue with me that it's much easier and it's more powerful than Nano. But like I said, I'm just accustomed to Nano. Honestly, I feel like they're both pretty comparable to one another. They're just different. Okay. And I won't jump around in this one a lot with you because like I said, I don't use Vim a lot, so I'm a bit awkward in Vim at the moment. But you can get in there and play around. It's just a text editor, learn whatever you want. And as you notice, Vim it stands for V improved, and I did use V quite a bit, but it's changed a bit since then. So now if we want to exit this one, you see to exit it's going to be Q. So we're going to hit Q, enter, and it should give us, oh, perhaps not. Let's try that again. And see, this is a different type of command, and like I told you, I'm not familiar with Vim, so we're just going to close it because I don't want to deal with that right now. But anyway, just wanted to show you the different versions. We're going to hit Alt-T to reopen our terminal, and we're going to clear our little title text there. We're going to do a list. Okay, so we're right back in our directory. Now, if we wanted to make that file, Nano, and let's say we're going to make a text file. We'll call it tester.txt. Okay? And then we're going to hit boom. So now we have, if you look here, a tester text. And we're going to go, this is our testing text file. Okay? ... And then I'm going to hit exit. And then it asks me, do you want to save this? Yes or no? So I put Y for yes. File name to write to. So you want to write it to tester.txt. Now see, at this point I could change that to a different name if I wanted to, but I go, yes, that's the text file I created. That's what I want to save it to. Enter. And now we have tester text. And if I do a listing, we see tester text there. And if I want to read it again, I do Nano tester tab text, boom. Now see, that's pretty cool. So now we're going to close it. Whoop. I hit them in the right order there. There we go. No, I don't want to save any modifications to it. No big deal. All right, so clear the terminal. Do a listing. There's test, or tester.txt. So we want to remove that. And if we remove it, we're going to go rm tester text. Hit enter. List, it's gone. Now you notice I didn't put the -r there because we're just removing that file. There's nothing recursive to grab. If that were a directory that had files in it, we would have used command rm-r and then the name of the directory, whatever it is. But there's nothing recursively to grab. It's just one file, so we only need the remove command and the name of the file to remove. So we removed that. Now, I also want to go over 2 more commands for you in terminal, and then that's all we're going to go over for this session. We need to learn how to copy, which is CP, and how to move, which is MV. Okay? So let's create another text file here. Let's create, I don't know, my test _1. And you know what? I'm not even going to put a .text extension on it because I can, and it's perfectly readable. And you can do that with bash shell scripts and such too. And there's a reason why you would want to do that, and we'll get into that later on also. But you can do that, so it's actually basically just a text file that I created, and we're just going to put something in there, don't care what. X, Control X to exit. Yes, we're going to save that, and yes, we're going to write it to that name. Okay, so now if I do a listing, there's our my test 1. And let's do that again. Actually, I'm going to hit arrow up twice so I get back to that command, and I'm just going to change that 1 to a 2. See how much quicker that was? And this time I'm going to put something else in there, so it's very noticeable. And we're going to go down here, we'll go down there, and we're going to go down here, and now I'm going to close it. Yes, I want you to save that, and yes, I want to write it to my test _2 file. So now let's look at them, and there they are. Okay, But let's say we wanted to move my test1 to the desktop over here, okay? How would we move that? Well, MV, we're going to move my test _1, and where are we going to move it to? Space, we're going to move it to the desktop. Now, the desktop is actually located inside our home directory. Now, that may sound confusing because you're going, what? No, the desktop's right here. But this is how you're going to do that. You're going to type, you have to put your full path. So we know that our user directories are inside home, right? Because test is our home. And then inside test is desktop. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to type move, MV for move, that's your command, the file we're going to move, space, then / home / test / and I'm just going to tab that the rest of the way. See there? Now, remember what I said about uppercase and lowercase. Now, suppose I goofed up and I put a lowercase and I hit tab. It doesn't know what to do. Okay? So, because that doesn't exist. But with a capital D, hey, it exists. So we're telling it now to move this file to this location. Now watch what happens when I hit enter. Boom, did you see that? See it pop up over here? Now we moved it, right? So let's do a listing and see what's there now. Look at that. So we did literally move it from that directory to the desktop. Now, what if I said, I want to copy my test2 to the desktop? Alright, so I want to leave that file where it is, but I want to send a copy of it over here with my test1. So how are we going to do that? We're going to type the command for copy, which would be cp space my tab, completed it. That's the only my file I got in there, so it's going to find it. And then I do / home, right? The user file, or space, excuse me, that we're going to. We need to go to that user's directory, and our user is test dummy. So he's test / then we're going to the desktop. There we go. So we're going to copy this file to the desktop. Copy my test _2 to the desktop of user test. Okay. So I hit enter, and boom, it popped up over here. See? So now we have my test1 and my test2 over there. Now back in the terminal, let's do a listing. Remember, we only copied it, so it should still be there, right? Let's see. Look at there. There it is. And so I decide, well, I don't really need that anymore, or maybe I want to change that to the name my test _3. Now, this is kind of cool that you can do this. This is a way that you do that. I do move, okay, and then I tell it the name of the file, and I'm going to tell it I want to move it to my test _3. So I type move my test _2 to my test _3. And what I'm actually telling it to do is to change the name of that file. Alright, so let's look at this for just a minute. Let me clear this. Okay. So if we look inside my test _2, we see what's in there. Remember, I did a very unique entry in that one. Okay, so let's close it. So now we're going to do, remember, move my, Hit tab to finish that. Good deal. MY again, tab. There we go. See how quick that is? I'm going to change that 2 to 3. So remember, I'm telling it, change the name of this file to this. So here I go. I'm going to hit enter. Now let's list it, see what we got. Look at there. It literally changed it to mytest_3. And if we look at that file, we're going to see it's still the same file. Look at that. All we did was change the name. Wasn't that easy? So what seems like very complicated stuff is really not complicated at all. Okay? So now you have your commands to various commands for variations of listing files and directories. You can change directories. You know how to make a directory, make a file. You know how to delete or remove a directory or file. And we also learned how to rename a file. And you can rename a directory the same way. Okay? So let's go ahead and delete these these files that we have just for practice. So that's just a file, it's not a directory. So I'm going to tell it remove my test. I can hit tab to autocomplete, right? Boom, list it, it's gone. Now I want to get rid of these two on the desktop over here. See, I'm going to bring them up here where we can see them a little better. There we go. So these were the ones that we copied over or moved over there. So I want to delete those. Yeah, I could take it and drag it into the trash can, or I could right click and tell it delete or move to trash. But we're learning about the terminal, right? So how would we do that in the terminal? Well, we're in the home directory, right? So what if we change directories to the desktop and did a list there? Look at that, I can see the files. So how do we remove them? Now if I do tab here, there are two files named mytest. The only thing that's different is what's after the underscore. So you see it still autocompletes for me. If I type my tab, it autocompletes everything but that last part because it doesn't know which one I want. So I'm going to say 1. What if I want to delete both of them at the same time? We can do that. Space mytest2. Okay, now I'm going to hit enter, and you see what we have here. Remove this file and this file. Okay, so I hit enter, and did you see that? It disappeared. And you realize we removed them. We didn't send them to the trash can. So remember what I told you? You tell Linux to do something, it does it. Alright, so now the last command you're going to learn, we're going to close the terminal, and we're going to do that. And yes, I could click up here, I know, but remember, we're in the terminal, we're learning about terminals. So we're going to type the word exit, enter, and our terminal is closed. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned a few things. And like I said, feel free to write this stuff down as you're going along with the tutorial. Follow along with your own terminal if you like. That usually helps me. If I just listen to someone explain something or I just watch them, I don't quite get it as well as if I do it hands-on. So I do strongly encourage while you follow these tutorials to have your little terminal window open and be following along with me. And you can pause and restart the tutorial at any time you want. So beauty of the internet and video. So I hope that helped you, and we will do a bit more diving a little bit deeper into some terminal work on our next tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and you have a good one, and we'll see you next time.